Coming up on a Skin Depth Convo.
I think the biggest myth is that skin or acne is just like skin deep and it's just topical. I think for the most part, you really have to go inside to see what's going on, especially if it's chronic acne. If you're doing all the things and it's persisting for months and years and decades even, it's really time to look inside, and it's not just a topical issue.
This is a show focused on educating and inspiring all those in the skincare and beauty industry. But it is also a show for those looking to improve themselves from the inside out. In each episode, we explore the latest trends, breakthrough technologies, and get expert insight within the dynamic world of skincare and beauty. If you're looking to further your beauty education and nurture your passion, you're in the right place. Renowned experts and hosts Metaxia and Francine aim to educate and inspire through their own experiences and are dedicated to enlightening and empowering enthusiasts and professionals in the realm of skincare and beauty. Join the conversation and the fun with a Skin Depth Convo. Welcome to a Skin Depth Convo. I'm Anna Kagaraikis. If you're struggling with acne and looking to improve your skin from the inside out, you don't want to miss this episode. We'll be joined by a renowned nutritionist who specializes in acne, Maria Marlowe. She's the author of The Real Food Guide and Be Healthy Every Day. She'll share her expertise on the connection between our gut and our skin, common acne-triggering mistakes, and her top dietary recommendations for a clear complexion. Now, Maria will join us in a bit, but first, let's welcome in our expert host, part of the founders of Lyra Clinical, Francine Kagaraikis and Metaxia. Hello, ladies.
Hello, Anna.
Hello, Anna.
I got to ask you both. What are your thoughts on the role of diet and keeping your skin clear? Is it really as important as everyone says?
For me, I think it's important. It plays an important role. What we eat, it does show on our face. It shows on our body. Diet has a big role in treating acne. Fran?
And acne is systemic, so I do believe very strongly in gut health as people talk about it. There's prebiotics, probiotics. There's many different things that we deal with. So systemically, it does matter. What you eat does show up on your skin.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about this. We're going to really dive deep into acne and what it does from the inside out. And I'm very excited about bringing Maria on. So we're going to talk to Maria right after this word from Lyra Clinical.
This podcast is brought to you by Lyra Clinical and the award-winning Mystique Illuminating Beauty Oil. Mystique Beauty Oil's amazing skin-friendly hydration delivers potent antioxidants and anti-inflammatories with Lyra Clinical's exclusive Mass Tech brightening technology. This luxury oil blend is infused with vitamin C for a clean, dry finish on the skin. Use by itself or add to your favorite hydrator. Beauty oil delivers your glow and go look. Contact your local Lyra retailer for additional information at lyraclinical.com.
Joining us today on a Skin Depth Convo is a nutritionist with more than a decade of experience helping thousands improve their diet, lifestyle, and skin. She's the author of 2 books, The Real Food Grocery Guide and Be Healthy Every Day, and her expertise is regularly featured in Vogue magazine. You may also have seen her on Good Morning America and The Doctors on CBS. So let's welcome in acne nutritionist Maria Marlowe. Maria, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited you're with us today, Maria.
We're really excited about having you on here. And I know that you're a celebrity nutritionist that actually specializes in acne, but what inspired you to actually focus on acne nutrition specifically?
Well, I had really bad acne for almost 5 years, and that was despite trying all the things to clear it up. So I started with the drugstore stuff and then Proactive and then went to dermatologists, actually a few different dermatologists, and tried everything from antibiotics to birth control to spironolactone, and just nothing was working for me. I was finally prescribed Accutane because it was a lot harder to get Accutane back in those days. And I filled the prescription, but when I filled the prescription, there's that little piece of paper stapled to the front that has the side effects on it. And I happened to read the side effects, one of which was severe depression that could lead to suicide. And I was like, wow, that's pretty serious. I don't think, I don't want to take this medication because I've tried so many things before. Nothing has worked. How is this one going to be different? And I'm not going to risk these side effects. So for a long time, I was just relegated to the fact that I was cursed with either bad luck or bad genes or bad karma. I don't know. Like, I just couldn't understand. I was doing everything I was told to do and my skin wasn't clearing up. So long story short, I was eventually introduced to this concept of food as medicine. And I was skeptical at first, but I was also desperate and willing to try anything. So I drastically overhauled my diet. My skin cleared up in about 3 months. And the rest was history.
Wow.
I was just like,
Jeez.
why doesn't anyone teach us this? This is like amazing. And to be honest, I actually didn't believe it at first. I was like, there's no way that changing my diet actually fixed my skin. So I went back to eating, the pizza and the cookies and the Coca-Cola and like all the stuff I was eating before. And then of course my skin broke out again. So it was really after that, when I went back to eating the healthy foods, I was like, okay, I think there is really something here. And that's what really inspired me to, go back to study nutrition and to study cooking and really make it my focus, to teach people about this connection between our skin and our food, our diet, and our gut health.
I have to say, the first time we talked, I connected with you because you're a story that so many people have very similar situations and they don't know where to go and they don't know how to fix it and they depend on a quick fix or a pill that's going to change your lives. But the fact that you are sharing your story and making people understand they're not alone in this, because it is very hard when you're dealing with acne and the self-esteem and just to understand it and what you've done for the industry and what you're doing and how we met. And I think it's such a big part of good, healthy skin and skincare. I think it connects and you bring this to realization that we could fix it. There is some type of fix. So I'm excited that our viewers are going to be, really understanding that there is somebody out there very similar to them. And look at your skin. It's beautiful. I have to tell you, it's inside out. And sometimes a quick fix is not going to fix it.
Yeah. And thank you so much. And I always say, I know it doesn't seem like it in the moment for anyone listening who has acne. It doesn't seem like it, but it really is a blessing in disguise because it's prompting us to try and figure out, the solution. And that usually causes us to look, eventually all roads lead to our gut health and to our, our diet and our lifestyle. And so it really is a blessing because when we improve our diet in order to fix our skin, we end up also improving our overall health, our energy levels, our metabolism, our immunity, our gut health, our digestion, all of these things also improve.
Your skin is beautiful, Maria. What type of foods did you change over to? I'm somebody who loves pizza, but I'd hate to think of giving up pizza. So what I'd like to know, how did you change? What type of foods are you eating now?
Well, let me be clear. I was eating pizza every single day. I was eating, a box of cookies. I was eating McDonald's and, a lot of sugar, processed, refined food. The only vegetables I consumed prior to probably, 18 or 20 years old were, French fries and tomato sauce on pizza, like very typical standard American diet. My diet.
Well, the ones we're trying to avoid.
Right. Yeah, so I was eating a lot of processed and packaged foods and fast food. And then I switched over to eating more whole, real foods. So started eating more vegetables. And these were like foreign objects to me. I didn't know what half the stuff in the grocery store was, unless I opened the package and stuck it in the microwave. Like I didn't know what it was. So more vegetables, eating like just clean proteins like, grilled fish or, meats and adding in beans and lentils and all these things that I didn't really eat before. So it was really switching from a very processed diet to a more whole food diet and focusing on nutrition and nutrients. Because that's really what's important is that we're fueling our body with the nutrients that it needs. And not just, everyone talks about protein now. So, everyone's talking about protein. And yes, we need protein, but we also need vitamins. We also need minerals. We need antioxidants. We need fiber. So we need all of these things. And for me, I just really focus on adding a lot of color to my plate, adding vegetables in. That was the biggest thing for me because I was not eating that before. Anti-inflammatory foods like things like turmeric and ginger. Yeah,
Right.
basically just whole real foods.
Fiber. So you added more fiber. How important is that in your diet, especially when you're dealing with acne?
Oh, it is super important. It is super duper important because our gut health plays a really big role in our skin health. And interestingly, there is some research to suggest that people with acne are more likely to be constipated. So fiber, of course, helps us become more regular. And it's really beneficial for cleaning out the gut, right? And we want to do that. It's important for our body's natural detoxification process. It's important for hormone balance. People sometimes think that hormonal acne is just like a silo of its own, but there is a connection to the gut. So it is really important for hormone balance that we're eating enough fiber and we're eliminating daily. So fiber, which you get from your vegetables, your fruit, your legumes like beans, lentils, all of these things are going to be really beneficial for our gut health and ultimately our skin health.
We just finished Purely Clinical seminar, and I have to tell you, I look at Francine and I say, oh, you're going to start this again. But when she starts talking about eliminating on a regular basis, you'd be surprised how many heads turn like, yeah, I get it. But, it's a sensitive topic, but it's a serious topic. And, Fran always brings it up, explaining that it is an elimination. It is the toxins. So, I hope everyone listens. Francine is always saying this, bringing it up. And Maria, you're validating it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you,
super
Maria, because
important.
they tease me for saying this. So I
All the time.
appreciate that you
All
are
the time.
here telling us how very, very important it is, because it
Yeah.
all starts from within, and whatever's
Yeah.
going on inside shows up on the skin.
Hey, don't forget,
Exactly.
everyone poops, right? Everyone poops. That's what they say. There's a whole book
Yes,
about it.
that's a
Actually,
book.
that's one of the things I've heard. And is this kind of a myth or anything that they say that when you don't go to the restroom, when you don't eliminate, that it actually shows up more on your chin?
Yes, so there is that connection with hormonal acne. So typically when people think of hormonal acne, they think of that acne more along the chin or like the lower facial area, like the jawline. And when it comes to hormonal acne, the way that our body processes and gets rid of excess hormones is through the stool, right? So the liver breaks down the excess hormones when the body's done using them, packages up to be eliminated through the stool. And if you're constipated, those hormones can actually get reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, contributing to hormonal imbalances, which can then trigger more oil, more breakouts. And so that is why it's really important for hormonal acne that you're focusing on gut health and daily elimination.
My other question is, though, so when it comes to acne, how much of it is food? How much of it's environment, lifestyle, genetics? How much do each kind of play a role?
It really depends. So there's not like one sort of formula for everyone. I think everyone's a little bit different, but I think that all of these factors play a role. So food, I think, really plays a huge role, more so than people realize. I do think today people talk more about the food and skin connection more than, say, even just 10 years ago. But I still think there is a lack of total understanding, or people, I think, for example, sugar. Most people know that sugar is not great for our skin. It's not great for acne. It's not great for the aging of our skin either. And I think people know that, but there's also, it's not just what we need to cut out of our diet. It's also what we need to add in, right? Are you getting enough nutrients? Are you getting enough of that fiber? Are you getting enough protein? Is your blood sugar balanced, even if you're not eating sweet food? So food plays a humongous role. Stress plays a very big role. And you can eat the healthiest diet in the world, but if you are stressed, your skin is probably not going to be happy. And there are a number of studies that have looked at the impact of stress on our skin and shown that, yes, when people are under stressful situations, like, for example, medical students that are, during exam time, or college students during exam time, they do tend to break out more. So stress plays a role. If you're not sleeping very well, that's a stress on your body, right? So that can impact you. There's just so many factors. In terms of genetics, because this is a common question, genes can play a role in acne, but I think it's not the way that most people think. So first of all, if acne runs in your family, it's more likely due to the fact that diet and lifestyle also runs in the family, right? You tend to eat what your parents ate and tend to live like a similar lifestyle. And in terms of genes, no acne gene has ever been found. But the way that genes could possibly play a role, there's a gene called MTHFR, and everybody has this gene, but some people have a mutation. Actually, as much as 40% of the population can have this mutation. If you have the mutation, your body does not detox as efficiently as someone who doesn't have it. So you may be one of those people that have to be a little bit more careful and have to really have a little bit of a healthier diet and lifestyle to feel your best and to look your best versus someone who doesn't have that gene. That's just like one example of how that can impact the skin.
Number 2, Fran, she just validated you second time. Francine will say in these seminars, in these classes, when you're in love, your skin shows it. And when someone is beaming because they're emotionally just so excited and so feeling that emotion, you could tell by their skin. That's another thing she's validating, Fran.
Yeah, Fran.
Well, when you're happy, it's coming from within. And it shows they're glowing. You don't even have to wear as much makeup, we always tell everybody, because you're just glowing. But you're also, when you're sad, it comes out also.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you can see it in people.
Going to that gut-brain-skin connection. So this is quite interesting. I feel like we're starting to talk about this now and people think it's a newer concept. But actually, as far back as 100 years ago, there were 2 dermatologists, John H. Stokes and Donald M. Pillsbury, who basically set the foundation for what we now call the gut-brain-skin connection. And what they realized is that negative emotions like sadness, fear, worry, these can actually disrupt the gut. They can wipe out some of the good bacteria. They could increase that intestinal permeability. And what happens? This creates inflammation in the body. And inflammation in the body, can create inflammation in the skin, can create breakouts. So 110% absolutely. And we've all seen it. We don't need science to show us this. We know when we're, sad or in a bad place, we don't radiate the same way when we're really happy and in love and, in a good place.
But it's good that science validates us.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
and
tease
it's very
her
important.
when we do, but I tease you all the time. I'm not going to tease her anytime. Are you happy today? Is it going to be a good day today? So I'm not going to do that anymore.
No,
you can tell by your
you're
skin.
not.
Because I joke all the time.
There's science. There's science behind it.
Yes.
It's not just what we're saying. We're able to observe it. But when there's science behind it, does make a huge difference. I do believe very strongly it is systemic, because when you go to a dermatologist and they give you antibiotics for acne, that's systemic. So something's going on with that. So there's a lot of patients that do go to the dermatologist, which is fine. We're not going against that. But what we want to say, what happens after that? Because you obviously shouldn't be on antibiotics for a long period of time. I would love for you to explain, if they read this book and they understand what foods, this would be a huge help, especially for people who are suffering with acne.
Yeah, so there is definitely this gut-skin connection or gut-brain-skin connection. So what the research has shown is that acne patients tend to lack some of the good lactobacillus and bifidobacteria strains in their gut. They tend to be more likely to be constipated, like I said earlier. They tend to lack gut microbiome diversity, meaning they don't have a wide variety of strains in their gut. And that could happen, for example, if you take antibiotics a lot, that can wipe out, a number of different strains. Acne patients are more likely to have increased intestinal permeability, which is more commonly known as leaky gut. And all of these factors can contribute to skin problems and breakouts. Now, on the flip side, we have research to suggest that certain probiotics, for example, can actually improve the skin from the inside out, and even diet as well. So in terms of probiotics, there's a particular probiotic called L-rhamnosus sp1. This was found in a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, which is like the gold standard of trials, to reduce adult acne in 12 weeks. We also know there's another strain called L-paracasey, which supports the skin barrier and skin hydration. L-acidophilus, this is a common one. This is also good for acne-prone skin. That's really important. And then foods. We know that certain foods can break us out, like having a high glycemic load diet. So eating too much sugar, too much refined carbohydrates, that is associated with more breakouts. And typically, the more of these foods you eat, the worse the severity of the acne. So there is absolutely a connection, and that's why using our diet and, things like probiotics can be super beneficial for healing our skin from the inside out.
What's important that I get from your conversation is that it's not a quick fix. It's a lifetime commitment. It's a change that you can do. Even if you correct acne, going back with what you experienced, that you went back to the same foods and the same style, you came back again. It is a commitment, but what you're doing is not just clearing acne, you're living a healthier life. Your inflammation all over your body is not just on acne, it's all over. So you are definitely helping the aging process. You're living longer, you're living healthier. And food is more of a nutritional need than just a quick fix of a sugar high. And I could tell you, the industry is really coming around. Even, when we're hearing eat well, sleep well, think well, all these things are definitely what you're pointing out to all of us, which is really cool. Your timing could not have been better for this, because I'll tell you, we're more aware with social media. People are talking, where before it was like we weren't talking about acne. We didn't want to discuss it because, not to be singled out, but you're bringing it up. We're talking about it. These podcasts are very valuable for everybody to listen. It's a lifetime commitment that could be just as, important as everything we do in our life. Proper diet is part of our necessity of living a healthy life.
Absolutely.
For people to start this change in their lives, I've always heard things like you have to do a cleanse first, and then you can go ahead and start certain supplements and certain things, because you first have to cleanse out the digestive tract so you can then absorb the nutrients. Is this true?
So I'd say it really depends. And I think, diet changes can be very overwhelming for people. And especially like in college and stuff who are commonly dealing with acne. Of course, adults do as well. But making food changes can be really overwhelming. So I like to kind of meet people where they're at. And sometimes it's about first adding in things that are going to be helpful versus taking things out. Because sometimes the taking things out can just be too overwhelming, and then you just throw in the towel too soon. And, sugary foods, these processed and packaged foods, like they're addicting. They're literally engineered to addict you.
Yes.
So to just rip them out and be like, you can't have this anymore, like that doesn't work, I feel. So what I like to focus on is first adding in beneficial foods that are going to be helpful. And yes, maybe you might not be absorbing all the nutrients yet, but that's why we also start with gut health. So we start on adding in certain foods that are going to be beneficial, but also working on gut health, improving the gut health through fermented foods, through probiotics, making sure you're eating enough fiber and you're regular, drinking enough water, those sorts of things, starting kind of simply to clean your body out that way. You don't necessarily need to do like a juice cleanse or like a detox to start getting the body prepared and, moving in the right direction.
That is huge, because you can start today. See, that's the nice part. You don't have to wait. You can start your change today.
Small steps actually lead up to big results. And you'd be amazed how really just small additions can make such a big impact. Like I had a couple of videos go viral about flax seeds. I love flax seeds. These are one of my favorite foods for acne-prone skins because they are a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, which provide anti-inflammatory benefits. They're a source of fiber, right? And they're just very easy to add. You just need to add a tablespoon to a salad or your oatmeal or a smoothie or whatever you're eating. You can just throw it on top. It adds a nice nutty flavor. But it's really powerful. And so people were doing it and they're like blown away because they didn't change anything else about their diet. They just added in the flaxseed and they're like, oh my God, I can already start to see a difference. So small changes add up to big results. And yes, it's not going to, your skin is not going to transform overnight when you start changing your diet, but it will start to slowly transform and it won't take as long as you think. It's not going to take a year, a few months. Give it, I always say 3 months. If you really focus on improving your diet for 3 months, you'll see marked difference.
Definitely get those pictures, do those before and after, so that way you can see the difference and see the progress. You talked about flax seeds specifically, and I think that's a big one. I've seen your video where you talk about flax seeds, but what are some of the other foods? What are some specific foods that really combat acne that people should add into their diet today?
So there are other seeds like chia seeds, hemp seeds. Those are also a good source of omega-3. So you can interchange those. Walnuts also. I also really like wild salmon. That's another good source of omega-3 fatty acids. Dark leafy greens are amazing. Good source of fiber, good source of different antioxidants and vitamins. I also really like berries. Again, very high in antioxidants. Citrus fruit is good. And basically making sure that you're eating enough protein. I think some like in today's day and age, I feel like people are too obsessed with protein. Like that's not the only food,
Yeah.
nutrient that we need, macronutrient that we need. But we do need it, and it does help to keep our blood sugar more stable when we're including a source of protein, in our meals. So we do want to make sure we're having some, but we don't need to obsess about it.
And it's happening. I don't know if there's something going on. Everything's about protein, but the well balance, we need to discuss it and remind people it's not just about the protein, it's the whole picture, the whole
Exactly.
diet that we need to be concerned
Well,
about, right?
I think that we live in this social media age now, and things, there's trends and fads, and
Yeah.
something goes viral, and, everyone starts talking about it. And then it's kind of like this just like tunnel until the next thing pops up, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, everything is protein, protein, protein. And yes, we need protein, but not at the expense of everything else. You still need your vegetables and your fiber. You still need your carbohydrates. We still need to eat these things. We still need healthy fats. It's just important that we're balancing our diet.
Can you tell us some of your breakfast? What do you have for breakfast? This a routine because your skin is beautiful. You've really kind of balanced, a good diet. What would be a daily intake of food? What would you start off with? Is there any kind of fasting that you do? Is there anything a time frame that you do? Is there any kind of tips that you could give our audience?
Sure. So in the morning, I definitely like to hydrate first thing in the morning. So water, typically with electrolytes in it, because that's a better way to hydrate than just water alone. And for breakfast, I usually have eggs. I usually have 3 eggs with veggies. Sometimes I'll just scramble, like I'll saute the veggies first and then just throw the eggs in there and kind of like scramble it all together. But lately I've been making in a muffin tin. I'll make basically like these little mini frittatas. So each muffin tin basically gets an egg, and then I've been using dill and scallions, and I just really like that combo. I whisk everything together, then I just pour it in the muffin tins, bake it, and then it's ready to go. And it's easy now because now I'm a mom. I have 0 time for anything. I just pop it out and reheat it, in the morning. So I make it for like 3 days worth. So I do that a lot. For lunches and dinners, I typically do either steamed or roasted veggies. Pretty simply, on the side, like two or 3 cups of those, and then some source of protein. So whether that's wild salmon or wild shrimp, it could be grass-fed steak, could be chicken, whatever it is. It could also be a vegetarian. It could be an organic tofu. It could be tempeh, something. And then that other quarter of my plate, I'll have some sort of whole carbohydrate. So maybe that is, I'm having maybe a starchier vegetable like sweet potatoes or quinoa or brown rice, black rice, something like that, like a grain. And then the healthy fat comes from your animal protein, or maybe I put nuts and seeds on top, or avocado. And that's basically how I eat, some variation of that every day. I've been making ratatouille lately a lot
Ooh,
because
yay.
you get to put a bunch of different veggies in there.
Yes.
And it's so tasty. And then you could make a big portion. I'm all about making big portions and then reheating throughout the week. It's just easier, so you don't have to cook every day. So I've been doing that and then just changing my protein on the side.
I'll say congratulations is in order for you having a baby. You just had a baby, well, how many months ago?
4 months ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're in the
so
thick of it
thank
right
you.
now.
That's wonderful.
Well, so did your diet change? Like, how did that all change, between when you were pregnant? Because you're going through all kinds of hormonal changes in your body. So how did that affect your acne? And then how did your diet change?
Yeah. So, I think because I've been eating this way for so long, once I was pregnant, I pretty much was eating more or less the same things, just eventually in larger quantities. I did have some food aversions. So that really throws you for a loop. I mean, things that you eat, your favorite foods, like all of a sudden you can't even be in the same room as them. So that was interesting. But yeah, I would say more or less I kind of ate the same. They do, like, anecdotally, people say that when you're having a boy, you crave more savory foods, and when you're having a girl, you crave more sweets. So I had a boy, and I didn't care for sweets the entire time. And like normally, like I'll have a sweet,
Really?
like a healthier, a date ball or something, whatever it is. But when I was pregnant, I really didn't want any of that. So there is some research, interestingly, that consuming 6 dates a day in the last 4 weeks of your pregnancy could actually make your labor faster. So I was forcing myself to eat 6 dates a day in the end. I was like, "Oh, I cannot eat another date." But, uh, yeah, so that was interesting, and I did work. I did have a quick labor. But then after, I will say after, I really whenever I do anything, I like to do a lot of research. So, in Asian countries, after you give birth, there's a lot of emphasis on this healing and recovery period for typically about 40 days. And so I looked at what other cultures do and the food that they eat. So I had incorporated this Korean soup that was like it's basically a seaweed and, beef soup it's very common, like, the women eat it there after they give birth, and it's believed to really help them recover quickly, and so I ate that, and I was eating there's an Ayurvedic food called, panjiri, which is like a seed mix, which is supposed to help with, lactation, so I had incorporated those kinds of food after the birth. So I would say that was yeah, I found that aspect really interesting.
As a mom with a 4-month-old,
Yes.
you look fantastic. So
Yeah.
your eyes are
You're
glowing, you're
fantastic.
beautiful, they're shining, your skin looks great. So it's working. And the fact that you've
Thank you.
taken all those steps really do show a big dip. You look absolutely beautiful.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
And I can tell you, your traditions, what's really cool is you're doing your research and supporting it with tradition and facts. And that's what validates, I think, what you say, what you write, what you think about, and how you present it. Validation, because people say a lot of things that are not necessarily true, but you are very factual, which helps us to understand that there is a rhyme and reason to what we do, how we eat. And that's really important for everyone to understand. There is some validation to support what you're saying, which is cool.
Yeah, I always whenever I read anything or I hear something, I'm always like, "Okay, where's the study? Like, let me read it. Is this really true?"
Yes.
You know, I love just digging into the research on everything. Actually, it's probably problematic because it's like, too much sometimes.
Doesn't stop. Doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You created a program called
Mhm.
the Clear Skin Plan. Could you explain what that is?
Yes. So that is a program. It's a 90-day program to help people figure out the possible root causes of their acne, and then remedy it with diet and lifestyle changes. So, in my experience, I believe there's really 6 root causes. Number one would be nutrient deficiencies that are associated with acne that are often overlooked. Two could be eating pro inflammatory foods. So, we need to really switch that to the anti inflammatory foods. The gut health, we really need to look at gut health and do a deep dive there, see what needs to be added in and maybe removed to support gut health. Hormone balance. And I always say with hormone balance, we tend to blame our hormones and think our hormones are the problem, but we really need to be asking why are our hormones imbalanced? Because hormones are the messengers, and so they're just reacting to our diet and lifestyle. And so if there is an imbalance, typically there's a diet and lifestyle factor that's throwing it off balance. So we need to figure out what that is. Blood sugar imbalance, that's a big one. Also, I would say that's kind of become a trending topic is keeping your blood sugar stable. And that is really important for acne prone skin. So that's definitely something. And then the last thing I would say is just, I do feel like sometimes people, because social media is, constantly, here's this 10-step skincare, here's this, this new product, this product, this product. And like people end up using so many different things on their skin without really knowing, okay, maybe these ingredients don't mix well together or whatever it is. So I just caution people not to, go crazy on the 10-step skincare or using all these harsh products, and to really speak to an esthetician to find a program, like a protocol, a skincare protocol that is tailored to your skin.
Customizing them for their skin because everyone's different.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Know your patient, know your
Yeah.
client, and know what's going on with them. That is huge. Where can they get all this information? That is so exciting.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of recipes in the Clear Skin Plan as well, because that's really important, is making it practical and easy to do. And I'm all about quick, healthy recipes. I don't have time to
Nice.
spend hours in the kitchen. So
Yeah.
really a 10-minute, 20-minute recipe, that's amazing. Get all the food groups in there, make it easy for yourself, and make it also delicious. I think that's really important. I'm not someone who will like sit there and eat something just because it's healthy for me. If it doesn't taste good, I also want it to taste good. So I do think that flavor is really important as well.
I need to get your books. I need to
Yes.
get it. My daughter-in-law
I will
is
send them
expecting her
too.
first Yes, and definitely exactly what you said. She's tired. She doesn't want to cook. She doesn't want to spend a lot of time, but she wants to have something that's tasty. So definitely I got to get your book. I got to go into, as much as I can to teach her some of the stuff that you've learned because we don't know this. And, as a new mom, there's not enough time to cook and, it'd be great to have at least a guideline to help her. So I got to buy the
Yeah.
book.
Well, I'm going to ask this question. So for a lot of us who don't have a lot of the time, we're going to try to get those nutrients. Where can we get those
Yes.
nutrients?
Dark leafy greens are, pretty
Okay.
nutrient dense. I would say kind of like trying to eat the rainbow in terms of your vegetables and fruit every day and just you don't need to eat every single color, but looking for the variety of colors because each color is going to be indicative of the different phytonutrients. If you eat a mix of different colors, you're kind of hitting all the different antioxidants and things. So I would say, yeah, the dark leafy greens are probably the one of the more nutrient dense foods you can add in, and most people are missing.
Well, the other thing is also when you think of, you look around, you need other things like you talk about the probiotics you need and all the nutrients you need, but sometimes it's hard to fill that gap every day. So do you recommend any supplements to kind of help fill those gaps?
So I definitely think, yeah, good diet is super duper duper important, and we should always use supplements as supplement. But in terms of supplements, I think probiotics can be really beneficial because most people are not eating fermented foods on a regular basis. And even if you are fermented foods, we don't know exactly which strains are in there. So taking a probiotic can be really beneficial. But I actually created a probiotic or formulated a probiotic called Glow Biome, which is specifically formulated for acne prone skin. And it contains 6 different strains of clinically backed probiotics that support that gut or target that gut skin connection. And they work by first supporting the health of the gut, which in turn is going to support the health of the skin. So that's really important. I also really like cod liver oil, which is something like I remember my grandma talking about this, and my mom
Yes.
talking about her grandma.
Yes.
Yeah, like her mom made her take cod oil, which she didn't like. But cod liver oil is an amazing, amazing food for the skin. It's rich in omega-3. It's rich in vitamin A and vitamin D, which are also important for clear skin.
Yeah.
So that's another one. And then I would say Eight I think when we get a physical, like every year when people go for physical, we should be testing for nutrients, like for nutrient levels. And this is not something that's routinely tested. Like your vitamin D, like
It's not.
maybe, you probably have to ask for it, but it'll be tested. But none of the other nutrients are tested. And I think that is really a shame because by testing our nutrients, we'll know exactly what we need. And then we can either supplement, accordingly, or even better, eat the foods that contain those nutrients because that is really the best way to do it. Taking a multivitamin could be helpful, if it's a high quality one, like kind of as an insurance policy, but it would really be better, I think, to try and round out your diet to get as much nutrients from your diet as possible. And if you're falling short somewhere, maybe supplement with something, here, this mineral or that, whatever you need,
Right.
to get you back.
Low levels of vitamin D causes a lot of depression too, and it's a risk. So like you said, we
Yes.
can't just do a multivitamin sometimes. Having a good sense of where we're at with a blood test, I think is so valid. And people don't talk about that either. So another very valid point that we should tell everybody, get a blood test and see what you're deficient in.
Yeah, way beyond just your skin, like you said,
Right.
mood disorders, our immunity, like there's just so many things that are pretty much everything is connected because the different nutrients our body uses for different processes or different
Yep.
organs, are relying on these nutrients. And so when we are deficient, and by the way, like when you're pregnant, your body is obviously using more nutrients. And then even afterwards, when you're healing after the birth, and then if you're breastfeeding, like we're utilizing so many nutrients and giving everything to the baby. We need to make sure that we're replenishing ourselves. Even if you eat healthy, maybe you're not absorbing your nutrients. It's possible you're eating them, but you're not absorbing them, maybe because your gut health is not, optimal. So yeah, I do think it's a good idea to check your nutrients.
Now, you're also a celebrity nutritionist. You've worked with celebrities. I don't know if there's any names you could share, but there's also a stigma kind of around eating healthy is expensive. It's really hard to do, and celebrities tend to have, some of them have personal chefs. They also have the means to get those premium ingredients. But what's your advice to those who may be balancing their budget and also just balancing lifestyle with their work and, family life?
Yeah, so you definitely don't need a private chef to eat healthy or to eat like a clear skin diet. You can definitely do it. I'm all about efficiency and I love to save time and I love to save money. So I've got all the tips. So a couple of ideas. Number one, don't fear frozen foods because frozen foods are typically about 30% cheaper than the fresh counterpart, but they're typically equally as nutritious. So if we're talking like frozen vegetables, frozen fruit, really easy to pop into a smoothie,
Good
even
point.
frozen seafood and frozen meat. When you go to the fish counter and you look, oh, there's like this nice piece of wild salmon or wild cod or whatever. If you look closely at the little sign on there, it's typically going to say previously frozen, but your fishmonger has just defrosted it and jacked up the price. But if you buy the frozen one, you're saving 30% and
Ah,
then you could just
I
defrost it.
didn't know
Yes.
that.
Yes, yes. And then typically even with, because quality is really important when it comes to our animal proteins. So you do want to choose, for example, grass-fed meat, and which can, it is more expensive, but typically if you're buying frozen, it's not going to be as expensive as the fresh. So don't fear that. And even with vegetables, people think that, oh, frozen vegetables are not as nutritious. It really depends. Like if you're living on the East Coast, the majority of your food is trucked in from the West Coast. And so these fruits and vegetables, they're picked when they're not ripe yet. And if they're not ripe, they're not at their peak nutrition. So they're not going to, be as nutrient dense versus actually the frozen vegetables and fruit. They're picked at when they're ripe. And then they're flash frozen, which locks in much of the nutrition. So you may actually find, the frozen wild blueberries are actually more nutrient dense than the, the ones that you find fresh at the grocery store that were flown in from South America.
Wow, very huge tip for us.
Maria, you just debunked one of the biggest myths out there, I think, right now. And before we go, do you have any other myths you want to debunk about skincare and acne?
Oh, skincare and acne. I will say another big myth. Let me think. I think the biggest myth is that skin or acne is just like skin deep and it's just topical. I think for the most part, you really have to go inside to see what's going on, especially if it's chronic acne. If you're doing all the things and it's persisting for months and years and decades even, it's really time to look inside and it's not just a topical issue.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Maria, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Tons of knowledge. And I know how I'm changing my diet when I go home. I'm going to go to the frozen section and get a few more things today, right now at the grocery store. But you can also follow Maria. She has amazing videos. If you have not seen her social media, you got to follow her today. It's at Maria Marlowe, Maria Marlowe. And then you could also go to her website, mariamarlowe.com, and check out her books, The Real Food Grocery Guide and Be Healthy Every Day. Maria, you are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
A big thank you to Maria for joining us. So real quick also, we recorded that in our old studio before we moved. So now it's kind of fun seeing the back and forth between the new studio and now. But a big thank you to Maria for joining us. A lot of great information.
We are very excited with
Yeah.
that information was so very, very important because it was her own experience that she was able to share. The only thing I have to say is I think it's so important for everybody to know this information, but topical skincare is still important in certain types of acne. So you still have to understand both. It's very important to know how nutrition, but it's also very important to understand how to use topical skincare.
And I think the passion of experiencing it on yourself and sharing the journey and finding out all these benefits, I think it's really important because when you truly have a condition or something that you're trying to fix and you find the solution or go through the journey, these are opportunities for all of us to learn from what she shared. And I think it's a really good podcast for people to listen because they'll get something out of it and have a lot more results because it is beneficial. What she's offering, the diet and all that. It's really beneficial.
Oh, yeah. Well, think about it. You can put all the best skincare on your face, but if you're going to eat, the worst possible foods, it's still going to show up. But it's the same idea. You can eat all the greatest foods out there, but, unless you actually take care and put the right stuff on your face, you're not going to get the results you technically want. So there is kind of a whole inside out idea, but you have to take care of both, right?
And you have to know what type of acne that you're dealing with.
Yes.
So it makes a difference if you're dealing with hereditary acne and other items that we deal with. But it's very important to know this information.
Yeah. And then you could follow Maria. She has a wonderful Instagram page. Her social media is great. She's Maria, the acne nutritionist, at Maria Marlowe. That's Marlowe. So make sure to check her out. She does a wonderful job on there. A lot of fun. And make sure to also check out our social media as well. We have a great social media account for Skin Depth Convo at Skin Depth Convo. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you name it. We're everywhere. But that's going to do it for us today. And we thank you all for joining us. Thank you again to Maria for joining us today. And make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, all your favorite platforms. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Lyric Clinical. At that YouTube page, you can watch the podcast there. And we always have a lot of fun sharing great info on there as well. And we thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions for Metaxia or Francine, you could email your questions to info@skindepthconvo.com. That's info@skindepthconvo.com. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.